My best friend didn't just steal my boyfriend. She laughed about it behind my back like it was a game. So I played one of my own. And this one ended with her on her knees, begging me to undo what I'd done. Stick with me while I share my story. And if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Emma Collins. I'm 17 years old, and I've always been the quiet one. I love books, science, and dreaming about my future at Stanford. My best friend, Kendra Walsh, has been with me since 5th grade. She's beautiful, confident, and the kind of girl everyone notices the second she walks in. Even though we were complete opposites, we were always together. Then came Zach Myers. He was tall, kind, and captain of the soccer team. I had the biggest crush on him, and when he asked me out last fall, I was over the moon. Kendra cheered me on at first, or at least, I thought she did. But after a few weeks, she started acting strange. She'd tease me in front of Zach, roll her eyes when I spoke, and suddenly she was always hanging around when we were supposed to be alone. I tried to ignore it. I didn't want to think badly of my best friend, but something felt off. She started texting him late at night, calling it just friendly stuff. I convinced myself it was nothing. That was until the day I walked behind the gym after school and saw them kissing. It felt like my chest caved in. They didn't see me at first, but when Kendra noticed me standing there, frozen, she actually laughed. She wiped her lips and said, "You really thought someone like him would want someone like you?" I couldn't speak. I just turned and walked away as fast as I could, blinking back tears. That night, I didn't eat. I couldn't sleep. My heart was in pieces, and it wasn't just about Zach. It was Kendra. The one person I trusted the most had stabbed me right in the back and smiled while doing it. She took everything from me and acted like it was a joke. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't going to let it end there. No, I wasn't going to cry in silence anymore. That moment, the laughter, the kiss, the way she looked at me like I was nothing, it lit a fire inside me. She thought she won, but that was just the start, because now it was my turn to play, and I don't lose. After that day behind the gym, I wasn't the same. I cried every night, but I made sure no one heard me. My parents didn't know anything. I still smiled at dinner, nodded when they asked about school, and told them everything was fine. But inside, I was falling apart. I couldn't focus. I bombed my calculus test, the one subject I used to ace without even trying. My teacher looked surprised when she handed it back with a red F circled at the top. I just shoved it in my backpack. What did it matter anymore? A week later, Kendra and Zach walked into school holding hands, laughing like nothing had happened. They didn't even try to hide it. People stared, whispered, then looked at me with pity or awkward silence. Kendra didn't care. In fact, she made it worse. She told people I was overreacting, that I wasn't mature enough for a real relationship, and couldn't keep a guy if I tried. Those words spread fast. Even people I thought were my friends started pulling away. I quit the science club. I couldn't face anyone. I stopped raising my hand in class. I sat alone at lunch. I deleted social media. Every time I saw a picture of them pop up, it was like another punch to the stomach. One night, I sat in bed, hugging my pillow so tight my arms hurt. I stared at the ceiling and wondered if things would ever get better. My chest felt heavy, like I was dragging a weight no one else could see. I asked myself, why her? Why him? Why me? And then something shifted. I remembered who I was before all this, how hard I had worked, how many dreams I had for my future, how excited I used to be about Stanford. Kendra didn't just take Zach. She took my spark, my confidence, my joy, but only because I let her. That night I stopped crying. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. I pulled out my calendar, my old to-do lists, my scholarship trackers. I started reading, planning, organizing. My eyes were swollen, but they were focused. Kendra thought I was finished, but she was wrong. I wasn't broken. I was just getting ready. A few weeks after I started putting myself back together, I overheard something that made me stop in my tracks. Kendra was bragging in the hallway about applying for the Preston Merit Grant, a full-ride scholarship, given to only one student in the entire state. It was a big deal, and suddenly, everything made sense. The fake kindness she showed teachers, the last-minute volunteer work she kept talking about, even the way she pushed herself to join clubs she'd never cared about before. She wasn't just trying to be better, she was trying to win. At first, I rolled my eyes and walked away. I figured if she wanted to lie her way into something so big, that was her problem. But later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I remembered she'd once asked me to help her proofread a scholarship essay. I had a copy saved in our shared Google folder from a group project. I opened it and started reading, and then I froze. A few lines sounded weirdly familiar, like something I'd read before. I started searching online. It didn't take long. Her essay was almost word for word stolen from a 2018 Preston Winners published submission. Same structure, same story, even the same closing line. I sat back, shocked. Kendra had always been selfish and petty, but this was another level. Still, I hesitated. Reporting her would mean ruining her chance at a future she clearly wanted. But then, flashes of everything she'd done hit me. She had laughed when she kissed my boyfriend. She told people I was crazy, pathetic, not good enough. She stole my notes before finals and accidentally spilled juice on my science fair project last year, then called it bad luck. She pretended to be my friend, while slowly cutting me down piece by piece. And now, she was about to cheat her way into a life-changing scholarship. Number she didn't deserve it, not after everything. And if no one else would stop her, I would. But I wasn't going to just expose her right away. That would be too easy. I'd been quiet, yes, but I was never weak. I wanted to beat her at her own game. I was going to apply for the same scholarship. I'd earn it honestly, and once I was sure my application stood strong, I'd make sure hers collapsed like a house of cards. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about finally standing up for myself and taking back everything she tried to steal. I didn't waste another second. The day after I read Kendra's plagiarized essay, I printed out the original 2018 version and tucked it away with hers. Then I got to work, silently, carefully, and with more focus than I'd ever had before. No one at school knew what I was doing. While Kendra walked the halls like she already had the scholarship in the bag, I spent my weekends volunteering at the local dog shelter, cleaning cages and walking rescue dogs. I also signed up to tutor elementary kids in math after school twice a week. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work, and every hour counted toward my Preston application. At school, I slowly rejoined clubs I had left, the science club, the book society, and even the yearbook committee. I started answering questions in class again, handing in top-notch assignments, and staying after to meet with my teachers. Most people didn't notice, but a few teachers did. One even said, "It's good to see you again, Emma," and I smiled, just a little. Meanwhile, I stayed close to Kendra, not as a friend, that was long gone, but just enough for her to think I was over everything. She was still full of herself, bragging about her amazing essay and how her volunteer work was exhausting but worth it. I nodded and pretended to be impressed. She never suspected a thing. One day, while we were doing a fake group project for English class, she let me borrow her laptop to look something up. As she talked to someone across the room, I opened her essay folder, and there it was, the exact version of the plagiarized essay I'd seen before, with a timestamp and everything. I emailed a copy to myself in seconds, and deleted the sent message so she wouldn't see it. It was risky, but I needed solid proof. Now I had it. Still, I didn't report her. Not yet. I wanted the timing to be perfect, not rushed, not angry, just precise. Let her think she's winning. Let her think she's safe. Let her walk across the finish line before I pull the rug out from under her. I wasn't just building a scholarship application, I was building a trap, and Kendra was walking straight into it. As the scholarship deadline crept closer, my world narrowed into a tunnel of focus. Every piece of my Preston Merit Grant application had to be perfect. The volunteer hours, the recommendation letters, the personal essay. I read my essay so many times I could recite it in my sleep. It was raw, honest, and mine. Nothing stolen, nothing fake. Just me, Emma Collins, trying to rise from everything Kendra tried to crush me with. Kendra, on the other hand, walked around school like the prize was already hers. She laughed louder, walked taller, and made sure everyone knew she was a top contender. What she didn't know was that her castle was built on sand, and I held the tide. One afternoon, as I walked past her group in the hallway, I heard her say, loud enough for me to hear, "Isn't it cute how Emma's trying now? Like she thinks hard work can catch up to natural talent." Her friends giggled. I turned, smiled, and said, "Good luck, Kendra. I'm sure you'll get exactly what you deserve." She rolled her eyes. What she didn't see was the envelope tucked in my bag, my final application, sealed and ready. I submitted it that night, along with all the documents. My hand shook a little as I hit send, but my heart felt steady. Then, I opened a separate tab and pulled up a draft I'd been working on for weeks, the email to the Preston committee. I had everything ready, a calm, professional message explaining that I'd discovered serious integrity issues with another applicant. I attached screenshots of Kendra's essay, the original 2018 version it was copied from, and proof that the file had been saved on her laptop, timestamps and all. I didn't name myself. I didn't need to. The truth was loud enough. I hovered over the send button for just a second, not out of doubt, but to savor it. Click. I sat back and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. No guilt, no fear, just peace. I closed my laptop, pulled the blanket over my legs, and looked out my window. The moon was full. It felt right. Kendra thought she'd broken me, but tomorrow she'd learn I wasn't broken. I was patient. And now it was her turn to fall. The day of the scholarship announcement finally arrived. It was a Thursday morning, cool and grey, but my nerves burned like fire. I walked into school trying to act normal, even though my heart wouldn't stop pounding in my chest. First period dragged on, then second, still no word. But right after the lunch bell rang, the school secretary walked into the cafeteria, whispered something to Kendra, and handed her a pink office slip. Everyone turned to look. Kendra tried to keep her smile, but I saw the twitch in her jaw as she got up and walked out. I watched her go, quietly sipping my water. She didn't come back for over 30 minutes. When she did, her face was pale, like all the colour had drained out of her. Her eyes darted around the room, like she was trying to find something solid to hold on to, but no one said a word to her. Even her usual crew fell silent as she sat down, trembling fingers pulling out her phone. Whispers spread faster than wildfire. I heard she got disqualified. Someone reported her essay was copied. Apparently, her volunteer hours were fake too. I sat at the corner table, eyes on my book, pretending not to hear. But inside my stomach flipped with quiet satisfaction. During sixth period, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I waited until the bell rang and then stepped into the hallway. It was a call from an unfamiliar number. "Hello, is this Emma Collins?" a kind voice asked. "I'm calling from the Preston Merit Grant Committee. I'm very pleased to inform you that you've been selected as this year's recipient. Congratulations, Emma." I blinked, stunned. Even though I'd hoped, even though I'd planned everything, hearing it said out loud still made my heart swell. "Thank you," I whispered, barely keeping my voice steady. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I walked back into class, calm as ever, as if nothing had changed, but it had. Kendra looked at me as I passed her desk. Her eyes were wide, scared. I didn't smile. I didn't smirk. I just walked by, because now I wasn't chasing her anymore. She was watching me, and I wasn't done yet. The confrontation happened 3 days after the announcement. The entire school knew by then Kendra had been officially disqualified from the Preston grant. Her reputation, which once sparkled with charm and popularity, was now stained with words like liar, cheater, and fake. I was grabbing my books from my locker when I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Before I could turn, a hand slammed the locker shut beside mine. Kendra stood there, her eyes red and wild, breathing hard like she'd just run a mile. "I know it was you," she hissed, her voice trembling but sharp. I didn't flinch. "So? You ruined my life." I looked her straight in the eyes. "You ruined mine first. You just didn't see the cracks." She blinked rapidly, like she wasn't ready for that. Her lips opened, but no words came out at first. Then, like a dam breaking, she started crying. Not pretty little tears like in movies, real messy sobs. She leaned against the lockers and buried her face in her hands. "Please," she whispered, "just tell them it was a mistake. Say someone else did it. I'll do anything. I'll say I lied. Please, Emma, I'm begging you." I stared at her, remembering the night I saw her kissing Zach in the hallway, the way she laughed at me like I was some pathetic joke, the whispers, the lies, the stolen friends, the weeks I cried myself to sleep, the hours I spent rebuilding everything she tried to break. "No one fixed me when I was sobbing in my room for 2 weeks," I said quietly. She looked up at me, her mascara smudged and her eyes desperate. "I didn't think you'd actually go through with it," she choked out. "That's the thing about quiet girls," I said. "We notice everything, and when we finally speak, it's with proof." I stepped past her, my books in hand, feeling strangely light. Behind me, I heard her sink to the floor. By the end of the week, it was like Kendra had disappeared. Teachers stopped calling on her in class. Her friends moved on to other groups. Even Zach, who hadn't spoken to me once, stopped walking her to class. The halls that once adored her had turned cold, and for once, I didn't feel invisible. She took everything from me and laughed. Now she was alone, and I was just getting started. Zach caught up with me after calculus class. He looked different, tired, unsure. Not the cocky guy who used to high-five people in the halls while holding Kendra's hand. "Emma, wait up," he said, jogging beside me. I didn't stop walking. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," he said. "I made a mistake, a big one." I kept my eyes forward. "You did." He hesitated. "I didn't know she'd do that to you. I thought, I don't know, I was stupid." I finally looked at him. "You two deserve each other. That's punishment enough." The colour drained from his face. He didn't follow me again. Word spread fast that Kendra's parents were furious. Apparently they pulled her out of school for her mental health. There were whispers they were trying to file something against the Preston committee. Something about unfair treatment, false claims, emotional damage. But nothing stuck. The evidence was too clear, and the committee stood firm. By the next week, Kendra's name was erased from everything. No student council, no yearbook committee, no honour board, just gone. Meanwhile, my life settled into something that felt solid, not loud or dramatic, just calm. I started walking through the halls without feeling eyes on my back. I rejoined science club. I even helped organise a volunteer drive for the shelter where I worked. People looked at me differently now, not with pity, but with something close to respect. Some even admired me, quietly. I wasn't trying to be popular, but when someone held the door open or asked to sit with me at lunch, it felt nice. Teachers nodded at me more often, like they saw something they hadn't before. I didn't tell anyone what I'd done. I didn't need to. The truth didn't need my voice anymore. It spoke for itself. And deep down, I knew I hadn't just exposed a lie. I had reclaimed myself. The Stamford envelope came on a Friday afternoon. I sat on my bed, staring at it for 5 full minutes, before I tore it open with shaking hands. My heart thudded so loud I barely heard the words as I read them. "Congratulations. We are pleased to offer you admission." I let the paper fall into my lap and just stared at the ceiling, letting the tears fall freely this time. But they weren't from heartbreak. They were from healing. That weekend, I visited the dog shelter for the last time before I'd leave for California in the fall. The dogs jumped up when they saw me, tails wagging like always. I spent the afternoon scrubbing water bowls and walking the older ones through the back trails. I realized helping them had helped me the most. They didn't judge. They didn't gossip. They didn't betray. They just needed care. And I had needed something to care about when everything else broke. On graduation day, the gymnasium was packed. Everyone wore smiles and shiny shoes and tried to make the moment feel like forever. I waited in my seat until they called my name. Emma Collins. As I stood, I heard it. The clapping, the cheers. Louder than I expected. People I thought had forgotten me were on their feet. Even Mrs. Reynolds, my calculus teacher, was clapping like I'd just won a Nobel Prize. I smiled softly and walked across that stage with my head high. Kendra wasn't there. Someone said her parents had quietly unenrolled her last month. No goodbye, no explanation. And honestly, that was fine with me. After the ceremony, I saw Zach in the crowd. He wasn't with anyone. He had a weak smile on his face, like he wanted to come over, but I didn't give him the chance. I turned away. Some betrayals stay with you. They don't disappear just because time moves on. The wound might close, but the scar, it reminds you of who you were and who you had to become to survive it. But revenge stays too. Not the bitter kind, not the toxic, ugly kind, the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't scream, but whispers. I made it anyway, and I had. I sat on my bed, the soft evening light spilling through the window, casting a warm glow across my room. My walls were bare, except for one thing, the Preston Merit Scholarship envelope, pinned neatly above my desk. The edges were a little worn now from the number of times I touched it, stared at it, reminded myself that I earned it, that no one handed it to me, that it wasn't stolen or faked or borrowed. It was mine. I was finally at peace. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it, expecting a text from my mum, asking if I wanted pizza or something simple like that. But no, it was her, Kendra. I hadn't heard from her since the breakdown in the hallway, since the begging, the accusations, the silence that followed when she realized no one was going to come save her this time. The message was short. "I'm sorry. Please, can we talk?" My thumb hovered over the screen. I could feel my heart rate pick up, but not from sadness. It wasn't anger either. It was clarity. For the first time in months, I saw her for exactly who she was. Not the best friend I had since 5th grade. Not the girl who helped me pick out my first lip gloss, or who wept with me during The Fault in Our Stars. That version of her was gone long before she kissed Zach. This girl, she was someone who only reached up when she was falling, and I wasn't going to let her drag me back down. I typed slowly, carefully. You only talk to people on your level. I'm not down there anymore. I hit send, then I hit block. The screen went quiet, just the soft hum of summer outside my window. I leaned back on my pillows, eyes drifting up again to the envelope on my wall. It wasn't just a scholarship, it was proof that I could lose everything and still win. That sometimes the best closure isn't a conversation, it's silence and walking away without looking back. Do you think Emma was right to expose Kendra's lies? Or should she have taken the high road and moved on quietly? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious what you would have done. And if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss one.